Audio boys and girls, it's time for another Jeep Talk Show interview. Today we're excited to have Shane from Genesis Offroad with us. Back in the spring of 2008, Shane and his wife Amy got their first Jeep. One ride and he was hooked. As an IT pro, avid tinkerer, and entrepreneur, Shane found his passion in the Jeep world. By 2010, amid tough economic and job losses, he launched Genesis Offroad. Genesis meaning the beginning of something great. Building high-end, top-quality Jeeps with the best innovative parts available. During one build, he needed a dual battery setup for heavy electrical demands, but he couldn't find a complete high-quality system that fit the bill. So he built one his own damn self. Damn it. Custom solution. And it turned out so well that he brought it to the market, giving fellow Jeepers a full kit with premium wiring and everything needed. Today, Shane and Amy run the company together, proudly making their parts right here in the USA. They credit their vision and success to their faith in God, feeling truly blessed to do what they love. Be part of this amazing off-road community and deliver top-notch products to customers like you. Shane, great to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Tony. I'm so glad to be here with you. I appreciate it.
So it took, I think at least 4 tries. And I saw the, I was reaching out to you. I didn't threaten. I never threatened guests. And I was like, man, we really need to get you on here. And I think I even mentioned the last time that I was changing out the battery in my my Gladiator, 2021 Gladiator. I got a little over 4.5 years out of that OEM battery. And which I was pretty surprised about, frankly. And I was telling you, I'm having problems, got to change this thing out. And I had looked at your stuff. I think it was Roger, one of our longtime listeners and viewers to the Jeep Talk Show. Roger told me about you guys initially. And so I'm really, really happy to have you on here because I think you have a product that a lot of people need or should seriously consider that they probably won't consider until they're dealing with that damn aux battery.
Yeah, that little aux battery has been good for our business, I'll tell you that.
I bet. Oh, that's a good question. So the EPA just announced they're getting rid of all that crap, including the start-stop. Now, that doesn't mean that Jeep's going to come to your house and fix it and remove that aux battery and put something in there different. So there's a lot of years of Jeeps that still need this thing, some of these products that you sell. But how does that make you feel long-term that it looks like the start-stop is going to be removed?
Well, listen, I'm happy. Look, we have a lot of customers that will buy our dual battery system just because they hate that little auxiliary battery. And while that's good for business, I hate that little auxiliary battery too. I think it's, my personal opinion, I think it was unnecessary complexity in the vehicle for not enough benefit. And I hope that it goes away because I don't like it.
Right.
And I think a lot of other people don't like it. So yeah, I think overall for the vehicle owners, the customers that we serve, I think it's going to be a good thing for them. And, we still have all the benefits of our system, but yeah, it has the additional benefit of addressing that problem.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot to mention, I always like telling people this when the interview starts, you can go over to genesisoffroad.com and look at their good stuff while you're listening or watching this video. All right, so, and you'll have to clue me in on all the stuff that you have. I've looked at specific things. Whenever I was doing this battery replacement a week or so ago, I noticed that you have a box. And when I say box, it's a metal box. It's like, it's really neat. It's not, you don't have a lot of extra metal on it. It's just what you need to hold the battery, or in the one that I'm going to talk about, the battery and the aux battery. So I thought it was a cool idea. I don't know that I would want to keep the aux battery because I don't like stop-start. I used the Taser Mini to disable the start-stop about, a month or 2 months after we bought the Gladiator. It was so unnerving having the Jeep to stop at a red light, the engine stop at a red light. As you're growing up and you're driving these old vehicles, because you have old vehicles at first, an engine stopping at a stoplight is a bad sign.
That's right. It gives me a little bit of PTSD from, flashbacks to high school in my old
Exactly.
In the middle of the intersection, had to get out and push it through the red light.
And people are mad. Some may be honking. Some will actually get out and help you. but most of the time it's just embarrassing. So that's exactly right. It's a PTSD. So, but anyway, I noticed that one of the, would you call them a battery holder? What do you call the devices?
Yeah. Our steel battery tray that holds the batteries, it replaces the factory stock plastic battery tray.
Okay, so I noticed one that had it held the same size battery, which I think is an H7, for at least for the 21 Gladiator, and it had a place back and up a little bit for the aux battery. So that is like 99% of the problem with the aux battery is getting to the damn thing.
That's exactly right. So we have plenty of customers out there who have told us over the years, look, I don't necessarily need a full-blown dual battery system. And I get that. Not everybody needs the whole system, but everybody is going to have to deal with that little auxiliary battery that's buried under the fuse box. So all batteries eventually die, right? So every Jeep, every JL and Gladiator out there that has the little battery under the fuse box, they're going to have to deal with that. So we came out with the stock battery relocation kit. And all that does is it just moves that little battery from under the fuse box to up on top of the fuse box above it so that it's easier to access for future maintenance. But the wiring stays 100% stock.
That was going to be my next question, if you had to do any different cabling. So this is like a no-brainer. All you have to do is buy the box, the metal box, install it, of course, remove the old one and install the new one. Now, and then if you want to keep the start, stop functionality, put that aux battery, you're probably doing this when you need both batteries, but put those batteries in there and it's still the same parts that came from the factory. You still have that start stop. I wonder if anybody out there actually uses the start stop.
You might be surprised. We actually sell that relocation kit. It sells better than most people think that it would. Mm-hmm. So there are people out there who like it and just, like the gas savings aspect. I like saving gas, I think it's a little bit annoying when the engine shuts down and has to restart, but some people like it. So for those guys that like the start stop functionality and want to keep it exactly stock and they don't want to mess with anything, the relocation kit just gives them easier access to service the batteries in the future. So whenever it comes up, right, if that little battery dies and it needs to be replaced, you're already halfway there by you're either pulling out the fuse box and going down into it, or some people will go through the fender liner, which I think is more effort myself. Mm. But if you're tearing it all apart to get to the little battery in the first place, you're already halfway there. It's not that much more work to go ahead and pull the stock plastic battery tray out of there. And then our new tray drops down into its place and bolts in some factory mounting locations. And we just give you easier access to the batteries, but the wiring is 100% stock. But then we also have a second option for the guys who don't mind the start-stop system, but they hate that little battery. I think what Jeep should have done is put 2 identical size batteries in there, and I think that would reduce a lot of the problems that you have with mismatched batteries. So we have another kit that is a stock battery replacement kit. Again, that keeps the functionality, the wiring 100% stock, but we replace that little battery with a second full-size battery. So we use 2 Group 25 size batteries side by side. It's the same battery tray, just puts 2 Group 25s in there. And the wiring, it just uses one of those full-size batteries as the ESS stop-start battery.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, you're like one step away from a dual battery system.
That's right. And a lot of people like to do that one as a way to kind of stair-step into it, because they can, if they say, some of the guys say, well, my battery's just died, I got to get back up and running, but as long as I'm in here, I'll go ahead and throw the tray in and I'll go ahead and put the batteries in. That's a much cheaper kit. So then they say, well, maybe when my warranty's up, or maybe over the summer, I'm planning on adding some accessories, some fridge, lights, whatever. I'm going to build my Jeep, when tax season comes, whatever, right? They can swap out the top lid. We call it the top lid that just holds the batteries down. Mm-hmm. They can swap that top part out with our Gen 3 power hub, and then poof, you've got a full-blown dual battery system. So it's easy. We made it all to be very easy to upgrade.
So you came out, you designed your own custom dual battery setup. How much has it changed from the one you came out with? And I'm sure you didn't do this stair step thing. You just built you a full blown dual battery system. And
Yeah.
was it feedback that you were getting from people, or did you just look at this and go, well, I did this, but I could also do this, and actually be like the drug dealers that give you a little taste and sucker you in to the full blown thing? Because it's a brilliant idea. I mean, especially when you can buy something you don't have to fully replace.
Yeah, absolutely. We've improved it many times over the years. So our current version we call our Gen 3 system. So it's third generation of our dual battery system. But we made smaller tweaks along the way, making it easier to install, adding some features. So yeah, going back just real briefly, back in 2012, I was running a custom Jeep shop. We were doing custom fabrication and building high-end, full builds. And one of those customers was a gentleman out of Florida who wanted us to build him a new JK when the 2012, when the 3.6 Pentastar engine first came out. He wanted to try that as a search and rescue vehicle. So we bought the vehicle for him, brought it to the shop. We ended up working on that thing for 2 years, building it out. And he had, I think we put 28 switches inside of it.
Oh,
yes. 3 winches.
747 overhead switches and all kinds of crap. Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we put 3 winches on that. It had 2 on the front bumper and 1 on the back. And we wired it up so that you could control the front winches independently, or you could pull them both in together.
Oh, that's interesting.
Both out together.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of comms equipment and a lot of lights and all this kind of stuff. So we knew we needed a nice dual battery package. Back then, if you wanted dual batteries, a dual battery is nothing new, right? People have been doing that for decades. It's not a new concept, but before we came along, you had to go out and research and find some sort of a device, a battery combiner device, and read the wiring diagram and buy all the spools of wire and the lugs and the heat shrink and the tools.
What the hell is this amp thing and wire size I got to worry about?
Yeah. And then read the diagram and figure out how to wire all this stuff up. So It was just, we were going through that and it was really difficult. So we spent a lot of time researching and learning. And just along the way, I was like, man, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's complex.
I kind of saw there was a hole in the market. I was like, I think I could put together a nice package deal that's got all the components built into it and making this easier to install. And actually, that search and rescue vehicle, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. We've got a full build walk around video on that from back in 2013. So by 2013, when we wrapped up that project, I put a little kit together. We took it down to Jeep Beach in Daytona, Florida, and we just had it sitting on a table, and it kind of looked like a little bomb sitting there. So people would walk by and like, the heck is this thing? So, when we explained the concept, let you run all your accessories without draining down your cranking battery. People were like, oh yeah, this is nice. And it was so easy to install. It took off and people liked it and started buying it. So yeah, we decided to get out of the labor and custom fabrication side of our business and just focus on our parts line. So then the next year we launched the G-Screen monitoring system for it. And over time we've, upgraded and changed and added to it and just making it better and better. So now we're on what we call Gen 3.
Mm-hmm. So I think you mentioned it here while you were talking about this, but let's clarify it for the end user, especially the newbies that we cater to. Why do you need 2 batteries? It's like this isn't a diesel. Diesels need 2 batteries. Some people out there don't even know that. So what's the advantage of dual battery setup?
Yeah, so the advantage of running 2 batteries in your Jeep, especially for the Jeep guys, is an easy explanation. You think about all the extra stuff that we like to put on our vehicles. We like to put extra lights and air compressors and even refrigerators. We're running refrigerators in our vehicles now, right? And all that stuff needs power. So if you want to run that stuff with the engine off, with 1 battery in there, it's just going to be draining your cranking battery. And think about how easy that would be to end up with a dead cranking battery.
Yeah, Russian roulette, I think is what they call that.
Yeah. So our system gives you a second full-size battery, and we have little bus bars built in that just gives you a convenient place to hook up all your accessory wires, just so that you're not stacking up all your wires directly on your battery post clamp and making a mess.
Right.
So it just makes it easy to hook up lots and lots of accessory wires. And when the engine starts, the engine will charge up your cranking battery just for a minute or so. Then it links the batteries together in parallel, so they work like one big battery. So while you're driving, the alternator is charging both batteries at the same time. Now you get to your campsite and you turn the engine off, and the batteries are still connected until they drop down just a little bit. When they drop down to about 12.7 volts, which is still pretty high, it will separate the batteries from each other. And at that point, all of your accessories that you've got wired up to the bus bars, those devices will run from the second battery, and they will not drain down your cranking battery. So that's the whole idea here, is we want to make sure you can always start the engine.
Do you have to make sure people understand that whenever you use this dual battery setup, that the current available cuts in half whenever you're not when you're not driving? Because you have to be sure that you stay within the current range of one battery, not two, because two batteries in parallel make it gives you double the amperage.
It gives you double the capacity. So you've got the capacity of both batteries while they're connected together.
Right.
So to elaborate on where you're going there, another advantage of that is when you double your capacity, you're spreading the demand across two batteries. So the easiest way to explain that is, think about, I used to be into mud riding, right? We used to go riding in the dry lake bed in the wintertime. And you sink the Jeep down to the frame, and you've got a really hard winch pull. Well, that winch can be drawn well over 400 amps of power.
Yes.
So that's a lot of power in a 12-volt DC system. So with one battery in there, you've got a really hard winch pull, and that winch may just slow down to where it's just barely even moving. And if you just, hold that button down the whole time, you're going to drain that battery.
Right.
And eventually the engine's you're going to, kill the engine. So now you're stuck in a mud hole and you got a dead battery and you're just having a really bad day. Right. So with our system in there, it spreads that load across two batteries. Right. So when you're winching, the alternator will help provide a good portion of the energy needed to run the winch. But where does the excess come from? Let's say your alternator can provide, 100 amps.
Right.
To the winch. But if you've got a 400 amp draw, where's that extra 300 amps come from? It's coming out of your batteries.
Yeah.
So with our system, it spreads that demand across two, so you're not just sucking one down so fast. And you still get the protection. So if you run the winch off of the bus bars while they're connected together, it spreads that load across both of them. So it lets your winch run stronger and faster and longer. But if it drops the voltage down, it'll separate the batteries, and the winch can continue running on that second battery until that battery just gets sucked all the way down. But at least you're not killing your cranking battery.
You probably would be there a long time in a winching situation, having dual batteries that were both the same capacity. And I'm glad you said capacity. A lot of people don't understand current and amperage. So it's not like you're getting like a cold cranking amp battery, 850 CCA. It doesn't mean that 850 amps is coming out of the battery. This means its capacity is up to that during cranking. So yeah.
We're referring to two things. Number one is how much energy is stored inside of the battery that's usable, right? So that's the capacity. And then how fast can that battery put that energy out? How fast can it drain the energy out? So a good quality batteries like we offer the Odyssey and the Full River brands. Those batteries in a Jeep JK, a Group 34, can put out 850 cold cranking amps. So that's how many amps it can put out at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is a lot of power in order to get your engine started. So that's a whole lot of energy that it can put out of the battery. But then capacity is usually rated in amp hours. Right. And real quickly, you can think about that as if your battery is rated for, let's say, 65 amp hours, that means roughly you can run a 1 amp circuit, like a refrigerator, for 65 hours before that battery is completely dead. Now, there's a little bit more math behind it than that. That way, we don't have to get into the technical side of it, but that's an easy way to kind of think about capacity.
On your dual battery setup, the batteries that you recommend or provide, I think you do sell the batteries as well. I noticed that I forget what group they are, but they're a much smaller battery than the one that comes with the Jeep. But I would assume they are rated the same. You're not getting less capacity, certainly not less voltage with these smaller batteries.
Yeah, that's right. So on the JL and Gladiator, we're using a Group 25 size. The stock battery in there, like I said, is an H7 or also called a Group 94R,
Hmm.
a very popular size. But the Group 25 has virtually the same the same cold cranking amps and the same capacity or more than the stock batteries do. So you're not taking a hit on battery capacity
Good.
by the Group 25s.
Is that because is the Group 25, is it also an AGM like the H7 that comes in the Jeep?
Yes, yes. So on the JL and Gladiator, the ones that have the small auxiliary start-stop battery, all of those batteries are AGM. If your Jeep did not come with the little battery, you may have an AGM or you may have a lead acid battery. So for our purposes, we always recommend using an AGM because there's just a lot of advantages to an AGM battery over traditional wet lead acid batteries in an off-road vehicle. The vibration resistance, heat resistance, there's lots of things. So the batteries that we offer are the considered top of the line. So they're going to be able to handle vibration and heat and high amp draws and draining them down repeatedly and then charging them back up. It can handle all that abuse.
Right. And if you're off camber or you flop it on the side or even go upside down, the AGM, you don't have to worry about the water rushing out of it like you do with the lead acid.
That's right. That's right. So AGMs you can install in any orientation except upside down. So they don't want you to run it full time upside down because the way the electrolyte inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it won't spill. So they're completely sealed up and they're not going to spill anything out.
Yeah, I noticed that on the mount that you have for the aux battery, because the aux battery is mounted sideways. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. So let me ask you this: the Group 25 batteries are basically the same. Why is and if you don't know, just say so. This isn't this figure you might know because you've delved into all this battery stuff. Why is the H7 so damn big if it's not giving you more capacity?
Yeah, I mean that's just an industry standard size for the battery.
Thing is
But
huge. I lifted that thing
yeah,
up with my 2-inch and 2.5-inch lift on my Gladiator. Thought I was going to die. Trying to lift that thing up on a stool.
yeah, but I think the OEM car manufacturers are always looking to save costs, right? So the 94R is a reasonably priced battery, especially if you just go get a plain Jane one from your local auto parts store.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reasonable price point, but they're just made less expensively. The Odyssey and the Full River batteries, the way that they're constructed inside, they're just more energy dense. They have more lead. They can take a charge faster. They can discharge faster. It's just the way that the batteries are built that allows them to have more capacity.
Mm-hmm. So my point here is that if you're looking at this dual battery setup and you see it's got two little batteries instead of that big H7, I was going through all this to make sure that people understand that you're not getting less of a battery, less capacity, because I don't know if you're familiar with flying. People talk about the twin engine planes, and it's so cool because you got two engines. Well, one engine's not going to fly that plane. You lose an engine, you better be landing really quickly. So I think people kind of get that idea. Why do I want something that's smaller? But if it does the same job, lasts as long, same current capacity, et cetera, it's a good thing. All right, so we've mentioned some of the advantages and the wild advantages for that JK build that you guys did of dual battery setups. Is there any other advantages that come to mind? I mean, it's nice having that ability. Oh, I remember I was going to ask, how do you separate up, like if you're putting the lights and the winch and all that stuff on the second battery, not the starting battery? How does it separate it up? I guess it's the device that that goes on top of the battery pack that directs that to the. I guess when it's running, it's getting it from all over, from all the batteries. But it's whenever the engine's off, it only gets it for the one battery. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're on the right track. So inside of the Gen 3 Power Hub, there is a heavy duty device that's that watches the voltage levels. So when it sees your cranking battery voltage rise up, it will link the two batteries together. So it's basically like a super heavy duty relay in there that closes contacts and links the positive of the cranking battery over to the positive of the accessory battery in parallel. So when the batteries are isolated, it just disconnects that connection inside it, and to connect it, it just closes those contacts. So that's how it's linking the batteries together through the positive wires on the batteries.
So you could look at it as a jump start, because I think everybody's done a jump start before. So you're basically taking the battery that would be in the other vehicle, putting it in the same vehicle, and it electronically gives you a jump start.
Yeah, you're on the right track. So we have that feature built in as well. We call it the boost feature. So if your cranking battery is too low for whatever reason, all batteries eventually go dead, right? So if the cranking battery is a little bit too low and won't start the engine, you can hit a switch on the power hub, and that will manually link them back together. And it's the same concept as using jumper cables from your auxiliary battery to the cranking battery to help start the engine.
And this is on the inside on the device on top of the batteries. What's it called again?
Yeah, I'll show you. I can show you what that looks like. This right here is is our Gen 3 power hub, and that is the little boost switch right here. So if you can see that on the lighting there. So we just have a little switch on the front here. So when your cranking battery is a little bit too low and can't start the engine, you can just flip that switch to the on position, and that links them together. Or you can manually separate the batteries as well. Just flip it to that off position right there.
Yeah.
But normally it runs in automatic mode, and it handles connecting and disconnecting the batteries for you.
I love things that give you options. And so that there's always something else that you can try. All right. So going back to my, the question before I got sidelined myself, what are the other advantages to having a dual battery setup? Because it is quite expensive. So what would be the good justification if you're not a overlander, you're just a daily driver, but you've been in the situation where it won't start, or you left something on and it won't start. So I guess I'm answering my own questions here.
Yeah, you're talking through it, and we get that question when we go to our shows like Jeep Beach and stuff. People come by and we explain it, and like, I don't know, I'm not really running a bunch of electrical stuff. I don't think I need this. But again, if you think about it, all batteries eventually die, and they never die in the AutoZone parking lot, right? So
it's never convenient.
It's never a convenient time.
Right.
It's never a convenient time to have a dead battery. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that it's going to happen. So when your cranking battery gets drained accidentally or just at the end of its life, now you got a backup, right? So you can just hit that button and jumpstart yourself, and away you go.
What happens if you have a failing battery? And we all know from the folks that have the auxiliary batteries, a bad auxiliary battery can cause the main battery to go bad. What happens whenever you have one failing battery in your dual battery setup in your system? Is it just going to pull off the other battery and try to charge off of it, or would it cause it to go bad, or do you have something in there to keep it from doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, on that track, if you have one battery that is just very weak and old, and maybe it's towards the end of its lifespan, and you connect it in parallel to a good battery that's fully charged, they will try to approximately balance themselves out and equalize. So if you have mismatched batteries or a damaged battery, maybe you had a battery that was over discharged, which can physically damage it internally, and you link that to another good battery, the good battery will the bad battery will want to leach off of your good battery and draw it down. So that can lead to reducing the lifespan of both batteries. So that is a thing that can happen. But if you have the same size, the same age, and the same specs of the battery, you're a lot less prone to that happening than you are with the factory batteries, where you get the big H7 and the tiny little motorcycle battery. I think part of the problem with that stock system is the large size disparity there. So whenever that little battery tries to go out, it wants to leach off of the bigger battery, and the bigger battery has a lot more capacity, so it can try to send over to it, but it just sucks it down and damages it.
Right. Is there any switch on your Genesis system that allows you to bypass the main battery so that you're just running off of the rear battery that's still good? I mean, I don't even know how you would know which one is bad, other than maybe it doesn't start properly or it starts slow. But Is that something that you've considered where you got a manual switch on there for one thing. It'd be pretty neat if you had one bad battery, but you just need a few days, maybe you get back home from a trip where you need to depend on the secondary battery. I mean, I guess you could always swap them, but a switch would be a lot handier.
That's right. Part of the, in order to do that, your factory positive post clamp, right, that goes onto the positive post of your cranking battery, that factory positive harness feeds your fuse box, your alternator, and your starter. Okay. So that's where all of those connections come in. So they're hardwired straight to that cranking battery. So in your situation, what you would need is, and to answer your question, what you would need would be like a selector switch. So the factory positive harness would go to a selector switch first and then go out to the two batteries. So that's a little bit different scenario than what we have.
Right.
But yeah, to elaborate on the second scenario, there is just swap the batteries. So we've had some customers say, I wonder, should I like rotate my batteries like I rotate my tires?
Right.
And that can be a good idea, because if you think about it, the lifespan of batteries is based on how many times they get drained down and then recharged over their lifespan.
Right.
So a good quality AGM battery like the ones we sell can go through about 400 to 500 or so cycles of being drained down, 80% discharged, and then charged back up. And that's pretty good for the price point of those batteries. Now, lithium batteries, they can do upwards of 5,000 cycles, which is a nice value proposition too. But AGMs can do around 500 cycles because they just have a finite amount of energy that they can produce. So let's say you're an overlander type and you're out camping a lot, or you're circumnavigating South America and you're using your batteries every single night and then driving every single day, or you got solar panels to charge them back up during the day. Well, that accessory battery is going to go through a whole lot more cycles, right? Or let's think about the scenario of a guy who works out of his truck. Maybe he's in construction and driving around every day, and he keeps a fridge running all the time to keep his sandwiches and his drinks cold for lunch, right?
Beer.
If you're running a fridge 24/7, you're going to be draining that accessory battery down, and then you drive all day and you charge it back up. Well, the accessory battery is going to get a lot more draining cycles, right, than your cranking battery does. So it comes down to your application. So if that cranking battery is sitting there and all it does is just start the engine, uses a little bit of power, and then it gets recharged, well, that battery's going to last a really long time because you're just not draining it much. So for that situation, yeah, you're right. You just need to think about how you're using your vehicle and your application and think through that.
Well, that's really good. And actually that answered the other question I was going to ask you. Does it make sense to buy batteries at different times? Because, they all have a tendency to go bad at the same time, usually when you have a cold spell out or a real hot spell out. And, but yeah, with the way it charges, it's really the charging cycles that causes the issue. So would you recommend buying two batteries at the same time? Can you run one battery in a dual battery setup, because the expense of the battery and the equipment is very expensive, and then you do the second battery later?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, that's going to come down to how you use your vehicle. So if you're not running anything off of the cranking battery with the engine off, and all that cranking battery is doing is starting the engine and then getting recharged, it's not going through many discharge cycles, right? But like I said, if you are a heavy battery power user and you're consistently draining that battery down and charging it back up, then in that situation, once it's at the end of its lifespan, if you want to run the fridge all day, every single day, you may go through a battery in a year and a half or so, and maybe you need to replace that auxiliary battery. But that cranking battery, it's just been starting the engine for a year and a half. That one may go 5, 6, 7 years and be just fine. So in that situation, yeah, it's fine to just replace your auxiliary battery, but you wouldn't want to have them, you just want to think through that. Think about it like your tires, right? If you're got a one tire that's out of alignment and it's wobbly, and if that tire gets worn down, but all your other tires are fine, do you replace all 4 tires? Probably not, because that'd be really expensive, right? It's the same way with the batteries.
Gotcha.
If they're worn out, you can replace it.
So doing a dual battery system, because of the way the batteries are charged and discharged, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be looking at the expense of 2 batteries every 4.5 years. It depends on how it's used, and also too the way it's charged and cycled. So I would guess, and maybe you have different stats, but I would guess that most people don't run anything super heavy on the and I don't want to call it auxiliary battery, because auxiliary battery has such a bad connotation to the name. I'll say the secondary battery. If you're not running a lot of stuff off of the secondary battery, rotating it is a good idea. It sounds like every so often, just so that you get the same kind of it extends the life of both batteries. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's right.
And then if one battery goes out, it's going to be likely the one that's had the most charges. And if they're both basically doing the same thing, then they both should last about the same length of time. Can you, if you have I would think that after 4.5 years or whatever it is, both batteries are going to be weak, especially if you do the rotations, but you got a longer life of it due to the rotations. When you go to replace the battery, I don't have a lot of money. So I'm asking the question that I think a lot of people are the same way. They don't have a lot of money, especially when you're looking at like $700-800 for batteries, for good batteries. Correct. So it's going to be at least 400. So can you, if you take the best battery that you have, leave it in the system, replace it with a new battery, and then, it give you a month or 2 months before you can buy another battery. Is that a viable solution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that'd be just fine. You'll be just fine doing that. Absolutely.
All right. So what happens, damn it, what's the thing on top called, the Genesis 3 system?
Yeah, we call it the Gen 3 Power Hub.
Power Hub. That's what I couldn't remember. So what is the likelihood, if the Power Hub itself goes bad, are you dead in the water?
No. So the way that we design the Power Hub is, if our components were to completely blow up and be demolished and disintegrated, the vehicle will still start and run.
Perfect.
Okay. So the reason for that, if you look at the way the system is wired up, let me hold this up for you again here.
Okay.
And I'll walk you through that. The way this system is wired up, this wire here goes to your factory positive post clamp. The post clamp is connected directly to your cranking battery. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's feeding power directly to your fuse box, your alternator, and your starter. This wire goes into the Power Hub to the battery combiner device, and when it links that, when it connects that circuit together, it comes over here and comes down to this clamp on the accessory battery, or your house battery, as RV guys call it. So that's how the alternator is able to charge both batteries. And then your ground, this ground wire is linked through here to a ground bus bar, and then over to the house battery ground. And that is connected through the bus bars right under here. So you can see that those grounds both come in.
Oh, you got lots of places that you could tie into.
Yeah, so that's we give you 3 different sizes of those terminals there for connecting your electrical accessory wires.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so a winch may have a large lug, or your car stereo amplifiers may have big heavy cables, but maybe your air compressor might have slightly smaller lugs. So those can go on here. And then you also have a couple of smaller screws down here at the bottom for like a number 10 ring terminal for just a set of LED lights. So you got multiple sizes for hooking up your accessories. But the ground wire is linked together in parallel all the time. Okay. So over here, this is your cranking positive and cranking negative posts. So that's hardwired to the cranking battery. So the vehicle always has power from the cranking battery. So if everything in here were to just malfunction and doesn't work, then what would happen is the alternator would not be able to charge your accessory battery, but at least you can still start the engine.
Yeah. So I've always liked the idea, and I ask that because it's we find ourselves out places, especially if you're an off-roader, you find yourself out in the middle of nowhere, And Murphy's Law clearly dictates, well, you're going to have a battery issue, a no start issue, or a slow start whenever you're in the middle of nowhere. Right. So that's why I love the idea of the dual battery system. I have accessories. I've got a winch. I've got lights. I've got quite a few lights on the Gladiator. But I mainly, it's that PTSD you talked about earlier, but in a different way. Whenever you're, and you're there with your wife that was scared to go with you to the middle of nowhere, and then the engine won't start. And you will never hear the end of it. And she probably never will go with you again. So a dual battery setup, that alone. So this sounds really good. It doesn't sound like there's a situation that you can get into and let me restate that. You can always get into a situation that is, it doesn't normally happen. You're changing the odds when you go to a dual battery system. You're not, it's never 100%, but you're changing the odds to have it be less likely to have a problem. And that's with everything. It's less likely to have a problem. So that's why I've always liked the dual battery setup. And really, maybe due to my ignorance, I always thought that off-road vehicles should have a dual battery system. And it probably has to do with being out in the middle of nowhere. So, but this could be important. You never know when there's going to be a natural disaster. When is a good time for your vehicle not to be able to start? I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
First thing Monday morning, right? No.
I'm sorry, it won't start. Yeah. And my grandma died.
But to your point, you're right that things can happen, right? So, we have, there's a common misconception out there, okay, that putting a dual battery system in means you're never going to have another dead battery. That's not what we're claiming, right? So this system here is not a magic energy generation source, okay? It's not an endless supply of energy. So like we said earlier, your fuse box is hardwired straight to your cranking battery. So I always try to remind people that all of your factory circuits are always going to run from the cranking battery.
Right.
So that means your dome lights, your radio, your headlights, your factory 12-volt outlets inside, all of that stuff runs from the cranking battery. So it is possible to think about you're out in the driveway washing the Jeep, you're listening to the radio, you leave the radio on for a little bit too long and you drain that cranking battery down a little bit. Okay. In that situation, that's when you would hit the boost button and jump start from the other battery. But maybe you have something running off of the bus bars and draining down the accessory battery. Well, if you drain down your accessory battery and you drain down your cranking battery, well, what happens when you hit the boost button? You're trying to jump start one dead battery off of another dead battery, and you're just having a bad day.
Yeah.
That's when you would want to just use a little portable jump starter thing. I keep one of those in the glove box of everyone.
I was just going to ask if you guys sold that. That would be a perfect setup. I mean, it might hurt. Like, well, why do I need this? I got a dual battery setup, and then you'd have to explain it. But man, you could hit it several different angles.
Yeah. Backup for your backup. Yeah. That's your insurance plan.
And then you could come up with a dual battery backup.
Yeah.
All right. So, I talked to you about the two systems that you have, but you have more than two systems, right? You have the one that has the auxiliary battery, the little place for the little auxiliary battery, and the standard H7 large battery that comes in the Jeep. And then you have the dual battery system that uses two Group 25s. On that dual battery system, do you still do the aux battery, or do you let it run off of the secondary battery or the primary? Can you still do start-stop on the dual battery setup?
Yeah, that's a great question. On our Gen 3 kit, we eliminate the little battery entirely.
Good.
So the positive wire from the little battery comes up top and connects to the positive on the cranking battery. So the start-stop functionality still works. It's just running off the cranking battery. Or when our system has the batteries linked together and you're stopped at a red light, the voltage probably isn't going to drop below 12.7 when you're just stopped for a minute at a red light. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then when you lift your foot off the brake and the engine restarts, it's cranking off of both batteries together.
Nice.
So we've had customers tell us that seat of the pants, it feels like the engine starts back up faster. Because again, like we said earlier, you're using the combined capacity from both batteries to help start the engine.
So I want to make sure I get this one in. I've thought about it a few times and I got sidetracked with thinking about other things. How do you monitor the system? Is there a way to monitor the system?
Yeah. So we have a device that we call the G screen. So the G screen is a little 1-inch LCD screen. And I think I have one of those over here. Let me reach back here and grab one.
Oh, this is nice. You got visuals, so you can actually see what's going on with your dual battery setup. And maybe it's not just the dual battery.
Yeah, so this little device is the G screen. So this is a 1-inch LCD screen that you can put inside the vehicle. And we've got detailed installation videos on how to install this. But it pops in through approximately almost a 1 square inch hole. And it has these little panel clips on the side there that just lock it in. So the most common place to put that on the JL and Gladiator is over the rear view mirror, right next to
the SOS
right next
button
to where it says airbags.
Yeah,
there's a convenient spot that Jeep left us for mounting this. On the JK, you've got a few options. You can put it by your left knee on the dash, or you can put it on the A-pillar, or even overhead on the windshield trim. But this does a few things. So the G screen will show you the voltage on each battery independently. It'll tell you if the batteries are linked together. It'll say boost on when they're linked together, or when they're separated, it'll say boost off. And the backlighting changes colors as well.
Nice.
So let's say you are hanging out at your campsite and you just want you got the lights on, you got the fridge running, maybe you're listening to the radio, and you just want to kind of check on how things are, how's your batteries doing right now. If you come by and tap the screen one time, it'll turn on the backlighting. So if the backlighting is green, you know that the batteries are still above 12.7 and they're still linked together and they're doing just fine. If the backlighting is yellow, that means that the system has separated the batteries from each other, and you know your cranking battery is being protected, and all your accessories are running off of the secondary battery, and it'll say boost off. And then if either one of the batteries drops below 12.0 volts, the backlighting will actually flash red a couple of times a minute to try to get your attention. So you're hanging out at your campsite and you see out the corner of your eye a little red flash that just says, oh, one of my batteries is getting a little bit low. Let me go crank up an idle for 20 minutes or so and charge it back up.
Right.
The other thing that this will do another feature we added to this back in, I think, 2015 is this can also work as a digital air pressure sensor too. So if you have an onboard air compressor with a little manifold or an air tank, and you want to have an air pressure gauge, the old school way of doing it is one of those round gauges with a little dial, but you have to run an air hose through the vehicle and up to the back side of the gauge, and then figure out a wiring harness and wire everything up. So we offer an optional air pressure sensor. It's a little digital air pressure sensor that screws into a standard 1/4-inch MPT air fitting. Mm-hmm. And then there's a single cable that comes up and plugs into the G screen. And as soon as you plug that in and you tap through, it starts on main voltage, and you tap it, it'll show auxiliary voltage, and then it'll show the boost status. You tap it again, it'll say PSI, and it'll have your air pressure reading on there. So if you don't have that sensor, it just won't display that screen.
That's great, because you're only taking up an inch of room for that. Yeah. That's really nice.
Yeah, so we tried to pack I think the trend these days is bigger and bigger and bigger screens, but I wanted to condense that and put as much information as we possibly could into a tiny little package. Mm-hmm. So, it's really, it kind of blends right in.
Well, and the thing is, it's smart. It goes the yellow, the red, so you don't actually have to read it. And I'll just say it, as an older Jeeper, you don't have to find your reading glasses. So that you can read it. You can see what the color is and know immediately. You don't have to, you can get back to having fun or whatever it is that you're doing. That's a great idea. All right. So I'm sorry, go ahead. Was there more to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the other thing this will do is if your cranking battery is a little bit too low and you can't start the engine, we talked about you get out and pop the hood and hit the boost switch. If you have the G screen inside, you can hold this screen down for a couple of seconds, and that'll trigger that boost feature, so you can jumpstart yourself without getting.
I was hoping you were going to say there's a remote way of pressing that button. I mean, it's not that difficult to open the hood and press a button, but if you can just sit your ass right there and press it, then that is the best way. All right, so gotta ask, you know how the kids love the Bluetooth. Do you guys have a phone app, and basically you can do the same thing with Bluetooth and a phone app that little screen does?
Not yet, but we've had some people asking about that. That might be something that we can add in the future. Now, our other system, are you familiar with our Omega dual battery kit? That one does have a Bluetooth monitoring app.
No, I didn't know about that. I thought there was only one dual battery setup that you had.
Yeah, so we have a new version that launched middle of last year called our Omega system. That is very similar, but for the Omega system, instead of the engine charging both batteries through the alternator, that uses a Red Arc DC to DC charger, an onboard dedicated battery charger to charge up your secondary battery. And that's just a little bit different approach to how to do dual batteries. So similar concept. The idea is we want to make sure you can always start the engine. But this system, the Omega system, keeps your auxiliary battery, your house battery, 100% isolated from the rest of the vehicle. So the rest of your vehicle doesn't know anything about it at all. It keeps them completely separated. Now, the advantage of that is you can run different types of batteries. So you can have an AGM cranking battery and then a lithium accessory battery.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay. I see the reason for that. I love the Red Arc stuff. They really have good stuff. Yeah. We've had them on the show as well. So do you have any plans for putting solar charging, an attachment?
Yes. So for the Gen 3, you can take your solar charge controller and go right to the bus bars. That way your solar power will go into your accessory battery first. And if your solar panels can keep up with your demand and charge that battery up, our system would link the batteries together and the solar would flow over to the cranking battery as well. So that's super easy. Now on the Omega system, this is the lid for the Omega system. And it looks very similar to our Gen 3, but this one has a 50 amp Anderson plug right here where you can plug solar panels directly into that.
Yep. So if you guys aren't ham radio operators, you may not know about the Anderson plug. Anderson is a nice standard way of hooking up 12 volt connections. So, well, that's really good. So you could actually have you a solar panel. So if you did get stuck and both batteries were dead or couldn't crank your vehicle, you could deploy the solar panel, and depending on the amount of power that can provide and the amount of sun that's providing the voltage, you could be there a while, but you'd have a way out that you could take care of yourself and not wait for somebody else to show up to save you. And I think we all, especially Jeep people, I think we all Jeep people like being self-sufficient and being in a situation where they can take care of it and be in charge of their own lives. And I think that really speaks a lot to the dual battery setup and why you might want to do it as a Jeep owner. Now, you do. We know that you do the JL, the JLU, and the JT Gladiators. You mentioned JK, so I would imagine you have a setup for JK. Any other vehicle that you guys support?
Yeah, we support the full Jeep line all the way back to the JK, including the diesel and the 392 Wrangler and Gladiator. And then we also have vehicle-specific kits for several other vehicles, lots of Toyotas and the new Ford Bronco, and we just released a kit for the new Ineos Grenadier recently. So yeah, we have lots of vehicle-specific kits, and we also have some universal versions.
Oh, I like that.
If you have some other vehicle and we don't have a vehicle-specific mounting tray for you, we do make the power hub in a universal version. So it's just the guts of the power hub in an easy to mount method, and one side of the cables goes to your cranking battery and the other side of the power hub goes to your accessory battery, and that's it. That's all the wiring you have to do. So for guys with maybe they got an old Land Rover, or maybe they got an old Suburban, or even a rock crawler buggy, and they want to have two batteries on there, the universal power hub just gives you all the same features, but you just have to mount the device yourself and then run the cables to each battery.
All right. So we mentioned genesisoffroad.com. If you're an idiot like me, I can't spell Genesis. Just do a search for Genesis Offroad on Google and it'll correct your spelling. But go over to genesisoffroad.com, have a look. It's really nice stuff. And as I said, the battery boxes and stuff, they're not overly designed. I mean, it's enough metal there to hold the battery or batteries. And the other cool thing, which this really shouldn't be important to a Jeeper, but come on, if we're telling the truth, it always is. When you open the hood and somebody sees that, they go, "What the hell is that thing?" Because it looks nice, and it looks a really I don't want to say articulate. It looks very useful. Like they don't know what it is, but they got to have it because it looks good. Oh, I did have one specific question for you. I was actually digging around and looking about dual battery setup, and I went, because I recently changed the battery on my Gladiator, I was trying to figure out, could I even install a dual battery system on my Gladiator, because I have a rugged ridge snorkel, and the snorkel goes right over that area, and I think it would fit above the batteries, but I don't think it would fit above the I want to call it a power amp, the Genesis 3 Gen 3 power thing that you have.
Yeah, the power hub.
Power hub.
Yeah, we have some people that have asked about that, and we had a gentleman who installed that rugged ridge snorkel with our power hub, and he posted some install pictures on I think it was the JL Wrangler forum site, and yeah, all he had to do, he showed some pictures, but the main thing that was interfering with that snorkel is the battery post for the auxiliary battery. Is the snorkel intake tube comes right across the front of our power hub, and that post kind of sticks up right in the way. So what he did is just hit that plastic intake tube with a heat gun and kind of softened it up, and he just kind of pushed it in just a little bit and kind of molded it around the post.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's not too bad.
But that's all he had to do.
Great. Excellent. All right. So there's like 5 people that had that question, but it was my question, damn it, because it was my situation. So I appreciate you answering it. All right. I've kept you here longer than what I intended, but it was really good information. And I'm sure people have looked and seen the Genesis Offroad stuff and were curious about this stuff. They like the idea, but it's just like you never take the time to call in or write in or contact you guys to talk about it. So hopefully this will be an encouragement. As far as contacting you guys, would it be go to genesisoffroad.com and just call the number or click the chat link or something at the bottom?
Yeah, all of the above. So on our website, we've got all of our contact info. We've got chat, email, phone. We also have a lot of great tech tip videos on our website. We got very detailed installation videos. We've got great overview videos that explain our systems, and lots of. We actually have a podcast where we kind of answer these kind of questions that come in from our customers. And so, yeah, we got a lot of good info on our YouTube channel.
Tell the folks, I mean, I'm sure they could get it off the website, but tell folks about the podcast. What's it called? Overcharged?
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, it's a very clever name. It's the Genesis Podcast. So.
Well, it's easy. I mean, it's marketing is really important to have that consistency across the whole thing. All right. Well, you know how the kids love the social media these days. I personally like looking at pictures more than reading. So where can people find you or the company or whatever you want to mention here on the social media?
Yeah, the Instagram and the Facebook / Genesis Offroad, YouTube / Genesis Offroad. Easy to find us. Do
you have a lot of YouTube videos? Is YouTube a good place to go for you guys?
Yeah, that's where we would direct people. A lot of the common questions that we get, we usually just link people right over to the video and say, "That's a great question. We've got a video for that." So yeah, lots of good info over there.
So who has you're an IT person. I'm an IT person. Pretty much my entire working life. So who's the better person to talk on the phone to customers, you or Amy?
When we first got this thing started, I was still working an IT job. After I got laid off and started the shop, I eventually went back to work, and Amy was answering the phones and taking messages for me, and then I would call them back on my lunch break. But now we have a great customer service rep. When you call our phone number, you'll get Mike on the phone. Mike is fantastic. He's going to answer all the questions.
So there's 2 things in IT. You say, have you powered it off and back on? And I'm sorry, I can't just do this. I need a ticket. So can you fill out the ticket so I can work on it? Those are the 2 speed bumps. Actually, I don't understand why they keep calling back with a problem, and I tell them to turn it off and back on. They should learn after the 15th time, do that first. Oh my God. And they lie. I used to watch House, And he was a doctor. The patients lied to him. In IT, you're like the doctor that the users lie to. Yeah, I reset that. And then when you have the ability to go and look and see the last time it was restarted, you know they're a lying sack of shit.
Well, our version of rebooting the computer is, have you tried charging your battery? So we get people calling and say, my battery is low. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe you just drained it down. So again, it's one of the misconceptions is that this is some sort of a magical infinite.
It's not a nuclear reactor, folks.
No. So we try to remind people that, what do you do when your cell phone gets down to 1% and it turns off? You don't go replace your cell phone. You just plug it in and charge it up. So sometimes you have to do that with your automotive battery too.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I've been very impressed with your product since I started looking into it after one of the Jeep Talk Show people. I think we actually talked about it on the roundtable that I mentioned to you before we started recording. And they highly recommended your system. So I'm so glad that we finally got you on here to talk about it, because I think this is a really nice system that you should have in your Jeep and any Jeep, or actually any vehicle that you can use the freestanding system, the system that you can make it mold it to your own vehicle, whether it's a Jeep or not. So. All right. Well, Shane, I really appreciate it. And we'll have to have you back on, especially whenever you get the Bluetooth and all this other stuff going. I don't know, you guys catch the podcasts at Genesis Offroad if we didn't answer all your questions. Shane, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.